pieces to either redo or flip, or even just to resell on, locally on Craigslist or eBay, whatever. I found these two pieces. So it's an old filing cabinet, kind of a medium size. It's too big for like a card catalog and too small for normal files. It's kind of an unusual size. And then I found this old trunk. I paid 60 bucks for the pair, which is way more than I normally spend. But I figured they were pretty cool. They'd make an interesting project, and there's still meat left on the bones. I paid 40 for that and 20 for this. 20 is about right. It would have been awesome to pay 10 or 15, but 20 is not bad. 40 for this in my book is way too much, but I wanted to do it because I had a really cool idea. Normally it'd be the same thing. I'd love to have got that for about 10 or $15, but whatever. I already paid for it, so now I just got to redo it, make it cool enough that I can get more money out of it. Now, besides just finding furniture pieces to redo, I also do some that I flip. Like here's a couple left over. I actually had a whole bunch here that I've sold recently. This is an old vintage plant stand. It's about 40 inches tall. I paid 4 bucks for that. Should be able to flip it for about 15 to 20 bucks. This is a little 3-shelf corner unit. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I think I paid 5 on it. I'd imagine it would probably go for about 20, 25 bucks. I find unusual things like this as well. That is, I think it's supposed to be a werewolf. It's from a 1950s like carnival spook house or haunted house type ride or attraction or whatever you want to call it. Fiberglass, his nose pokes out a little bit, kind of homemade looking. That's pretty cool. I ended up paying 10 bucks for that. I imagine that's worth way more, probably 100, 150 bucks, maybe more. Depends on if I find the right buyer for it. And then like this right here is another project I'm waiting on. It's an old mid-century dresser, really cool. 30 bucks, great deal on there. And then even some things I put on eBay, like I found this old robot here from the early 90s. I paid $2 on it. I think it's probably worth about 20 to 25 bucks, so that's a good flip. And then even things like this from about 1979, 1980, Speak and Math and a Speak and Spell. It was at a garage sale. The lady had $3 on them, and I paid, it was either $2 or $2.50 each. I tried to get a little better deal. Speak and Math is probably worth about $20, $25. This one right here is probably closer to 30. So to convert $4 into about 50 bucks or so, that's a really good deal. That's easier than redoing furniture. So I've been doing a lot of that lately too. But anyway, back to why you're probably watching the video. The filing cabinet here was going to be built kind of similar to the trunk here. I was going to put it up on a wood base. I found these at a garage sale as well. I have a set of 4 of those legs, a set of 4 of these legs, and then a set of 8 legs that are similar to this, but they're longer. Both of these sets are about 16 inches. The other set I have of 8 are 27 inches tall. So I'm just going to build a wood perimeter, and then at the corners, build in one of these sets of legs. And I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use yet, but whatever set was left over, I was then going to put under here and do the same thing. Just put this up on a wood base and clean it up a little bit and sell it. But the more I looked at it, I didn't like the idea. It's a little bit too grungy. I don't like the top. I just think that a lot of buyers would hate that top. It's just kind of like a green, gray, brown color, real ugly. This looks like a huge mistake. It has some oil stains that need to get cleaned up. It's just something about it. It's too much. It needed to be softened up with wood. And anyway, I'm gonna put a wood top on there. I'll show you here in a minute. And then I decided that building a wood base would be a little bit of trouble because of the way it's built. This isn't a great example, but the top and the bottom are attached with like these tabs. On top, they're just bent flat. But underneath, they poke out straight and have cotter pins in them. So that's exactly where I'd try to mount, like a wood structure to hook in a set of these legs. And this thing is really heavy, and I'd hate to put on wood base and it'd be a little bit wobbly. So what I decided to do is go ahead and put it on casters. So it'll be about this height. Right now, it's just on one of my little furniture rollers, but the casters will be about that big. I think they're 3-inch casters. They'll be mounted out towards the corners. And then I'll put a wood base, a wood top on there and call it done after I clean it up a little bit. And if you look at it, it has really cool rust, really nice patina, but it's definitely kind of scary, dangerous looking right now, so I need to clean it up a little bit and then protect it somehow. I'll probably just do it the quick way and spray it with clear spray paint. And then actually when I bought this, I paid $40 for it, and the lady was trying to sell it to me for like $70, and then she dropped to $60. And she was trying to sell it to me with all of the drawers in there. She said all of those drawers at her shop were worth $10 each and that people were willing to pay that. So I said, well, I only need half the drawers. Just give me 3 of them, and you can keep the other 3, and I'll take it for 30. So we ended up settling at 40. And like I said, it's way too much compared to what I normally buy things for, but I think it'd be kind of cool. And they're kind of rusty, but they look pretty cool. They'll need to be oiled or something so they function a little better. But for the 3 spots that don't have anything, they still have the sliding structure. And as I was looking at it, I was like, you know what? I could put wood in there and have like these sliding shelves. So that's going to be my plan, is to put wood in there after I clean this thing up, because it's got leaves and spider webs and dirt and all kinds of stuff. So looks like it used to be part of the DMV, so that'd be kind of cool. But it needs a lot of work. It needs to be modernized a little bit, so that's what I plan on doing in this video. All right, so as far as the top goes, I actually already have one that I made for another project, and it probably looks familiar. It's because I used it in a different video when I showed how to make trestle legs. And I just laid this top on top of the trestle legs to kind of give you an idea what it could look like. And anyway, that table never sold, so I decided to go ahead and just use the top on this. I think it looked pretty cool, and it actually fits pretty nice. It's got about maybe a 1-inch overhang on these edges here, but then it has like a nice, what would that be? Maybe 5-inch overhang here. So it'd be kind of cool. This was intentionally left raw so that it would like build patina when people, put coffee on their cups and left rings, or, they put their plate of spaghetti on there and it gets splatter or whatever. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and smooth it out a little better and probably clear coat it. I don't know. I kind of like the raw look though, so I haven't quite decided. But I'm not sure I ever showed how I made it. It's not the greatest, but it's just a 2x6, 2x2s, 2x4s, 2x2s, and they're all glued together. And then I think I use screws. Yeah, I use screws in the smaller ones to just kind of hold them together. It's rough around the edges, but I think it works with this table. It just needs to be cleaned up a little bit. And then, like I said, I want to put casters on the bottom, and I have these casters right here left over from the very first table I ever built. I have a video on that when I redid it, and I took the casters off. I was waiting for a project to put them on. I put them on this one. These I got from coolcasters.com like 10 years ago, 9 years ago, a long time ago. They'll go on the bottom with little small pieces of wood to help just prop them up a little bit. And then I got to build shelves out of wood, so let me show you what I'm going to use there. All right, and then for the shelves, I'm just going to use this old 1x10 that I had in the basement. This is actually a shelf that was in our house when we bought it. I think it was in one of the closets. And as you can see, it's going to have to be trimmed just a little bit, maybe a 1/2 inch or so, taking off the width so they'll go in there, and of course chop it to length or whatever, and then sand it up a little bit and try to figure out if I can slide it in there to make these little cool pull-out shelves. And then to pull them out, I have another interesting idea. All right, and then the last detail is the little shelf pieces that I'm going to cut and put inside. I need a way to pull them out easily. So I decided to take an idea from another video of mine where I made handles for an old dresser I redid out of old belts. So I grabbed one more old belt I had. I'm gonna kind of loop it over like this and chop it about there or so, and then just screw it down right to the center of the top of the board. It'll have this nice little loop you can grab, and then you should be able to pull the shelf real easily. So should turn out pretty cool. So instead of me rambling more, let me get started and see what happens. All right, well, I got it all taken apart. I wiped it down, and I think I'm just gonna go ahead and just clear it with some spray paint clear coat. So just keep it real simple. So it's not too bad. It'll have a little bit of a sheen to it, and it'll still keep that kind of cool rusty texture. I think that will go over well. So let's continue doing the rest of it. Alright, so I brought all my wood in after I got it all sanded. I decided to go ahead and sand the top as well, and I'll finish it with Danish oil like I will with the rest of the wood. I decided just to go ahead and do that. So anyway, I brought it in, I flipped the top upside down, the filing cabinet is upside down as well, laying on it. I centered it out, so basically I have a 4-inch overhang on the sides and about a 3/4 inch overhang on the front. I think it looks pretty good. So I'm ready to go ahead and figure out how I'm going to mount it. So I decided to just go ahead and put a screw in each corner. And basically I come in about 3 inches from the side, 3 inches from the front, and I'm going to drill a little pilot hole, this bit right here. It's basically going to go center of my little 2x4 of the top here. So I'll just drill through there, and then once my pilot holes are drilled, I will flip this upside down, and then I'm going to drill bigger holes, like a 1/2 inch or a 3/4 or something like that, whatever my biggest bit is. And then that way, when I screw this together, the screw will go nice and solid into the wood, but it will have some wiggle room in the metal, because as seasons change and humidity and all that changes, the wood will want to expand and contract, so that screw's going to want to move. So if I have a little bit bigger hole in there, that screw will have room to move around in the metal, and then I'll have a washer on top that'll kind of sandwich it on there, but it'll be nice and solid in the wood. So it's just a little trick when you're mounting a solid wood top to something that's not going to move like metal here. So anyway, let me go ahead, get this drilled out. Hopefully it will go pretty smoothly. Right, there we go, that was easy. That was a little thin piece of metal there, so it drilled through pretty easy. So I'll just do the other 3 corners if I can get my drill out here, and then I'll flip it over and drill the bigger holes. Alright, I got it flipped over, so you can see my little tiny pilot hole, and I'm going to drill it with a 1/2 inch here. It's the biggest bit I have that will cut metal. Alright, there we go. Kind of a mess, but you can see it looks pretty good now. So imagine this was the bottom side, because the screw's actually going to go in this way. So you can see there's a lot of wiggle room for that screw to move around, but then this washer will keep it from pulling through. So it's just a real simple system to allow that wood to move. So I'll go ahead, drill the rest out, and then probably oil all the wood and start putting it back together. Alright, and then to finish the wood, I'm just using some Danish oil in a natural finish, so there's no color added to it. It's just the oil. It will darken the wood a little bit, but it won't get super dark. Have a nice kind of natural look to it, except it'll be protected, so I think that'll look pretty cool. So these boards here for the shelves, you probably saw I had to run it through the table saw and just cut a little slot right there to fit into the channels, the metal channels on the brackets. Didn't quite fit. And then these right here are little 4-inch squares that are gonna go on the bottom where the casters mount, and it'll just help raise the casters up just a little bit, because I think when they spin they might hit the bottom edge of the metal, so I also had those on there too. So let me finish oiling it all up. I decided to oil the top as well, and I can start putting it back together. Alright, so although I really do like this raw look, it's probably going to be best to go ahead and coat it. I'm just hoping it don't get too dark. I really like that gray on the centerpiece, but I think it's going to change on me. So I guess we'll find out here in just a second. Yeah, see, it's getting a little more brown. It's still not bad. You can see gray. It has like a barnwood look to it. It's pretty cool. I guess on the camera angle it still looks really gray, but standing right above it here, it's kind of a mix. But I guess it's not too bad. And the good thing about the Danish oil is that it'll dry and have that kind of flat, natural look to it, not shiny like poly or something like that. So anyway, I'll just continue coating this, and then I can start putting it all together. Alright, I got it all oiled up. I'm gonna put the screws in so I can attach the top to the cabinet here. Alright, there we go. Alright, and then the last thing I want to do is add the casters. The original plan was to just screw or bolt these on to the bottom of the metal. And the problem I saw was, look at how close that is to hitting. I didn't know if I put a lot of weight on this, if this would maybe bend on me a little bit, and then it hits, and then it's not going to want to turn. So that's why I decided to prop it up on wood. The reason I'm using these little blocks is, you can see, there's a lot of stuff in the way from this building a frame on here. All these tabs with cotter pins and all that. So what I'll do is just attach the wood into the corners. Just kind of even them out, and they should be good to go. Now this one has some tabs in the way, so it's going to have to kind of poke out a little bit this way, but I think that's all right. So that wheel might get mounted, you know, like that, and then over here it might be even closer to the corner. I don't know, we'll see. But one more problem I have is I was going to just screw them from the inside, kind of like I did the top, but I don't have room for it, because look at that, there's like a 1/8 of an inch gap between the metal and the bottom of this right here. There's just no room for screw heads, so I'm just gonna have to glue it, and all I'm gonna use is some Loctite construction adhesive. Just glue them down. Once they're dry, I can screw these on and it should be good to go. All right, there we go, got it glued. I went ahead and sanded the metal just to give it a little extra tooth, but it should be good. Do the rest, I'll screw on the wheels and it'll be good to go. So while that glue is drying, I'm gonna go ahead and make my little handles. So I just took my belt, cut it with some 10 snips to 6 inches long. I'm gonna fold it over in half and then drill 2 holes so that I can get some screws to go through there. So 1, 2, all right. And then to mount them, be real simple. I'll just find center on the boards, which this one you may not be able to see it, but I have a little dot right there. I can just center this right up to it. I think I want it to go ahead and overhang a little bit. You can kind of see it'll come off a little bit like that, and then just screw it right down. Whoops, my glue's not quite set, but I wanted to get these wheels on there. All right, check it out. Here it is all finished. Turned out pretty cool. So I do like the top now that it's dry. When it was wet, it was all kind of the same color, but now you can definitely tell that middle board is gray, which I like. It still has that kind of raw look to it, even though it is coated and protected now. And then the actual filing cabinet body still has nice patina on there. You can see it shines now with that gloss clear coat. It looks pretty cool. It has kind of an ugly brown gray color, but I noticed on the insides it's actually kind of green, which makes me think that maybe this used to be part of the like military surplus or something like that, and it just kind of browned over time when it faded. And of course the drawers and all that up front are rusted anyway. So you look at them up close, they got some pretty cool patina on them that I protected with the gloss clear coat. And then just the drawers that were missing, I added the little shelves that now slide out using the old hardware. It's kind of a cool little detail. Easy to grab with the little leather handles. Looks kind of cool. And then I also have the casters down here. They're clear with blue bands, which is maybe a little bit out of place, but it does add a little modern style. I think to tie it in a little better, one thing I kind of wish I would have done if I could have figured it out is taken these handles off here. They're riveted on, they're not bolted or anything. And when you look at it from the inside, there's not really any way to get to it. All this stuff is kind of welded and soldered together. I guess I'd had to have drilled them out, and then I would have had to have found really small rivets to put them back on. So I just left them alone. But I think if I could have taken them off and painted them like an aluminum color, it might have tied into the little screw hardware on the handles, and then also the chrome metal on the casters. But I'll just leave it as is. Someone will still buy it, they'll love it. And like I said, I spent 40 bucks on the filing cabinet. Everything else I already had, so I know that I'll still have some good value in this when I sell it. So anyway, there you go. I think it turned out pretty cool.